Welcome people of the internet, it's me KMD, welcome back to another Debbie Daylight video. It's 11 AM and I woke up an hour ago, but we need to keep the grind set. I decided to make this one an unscripted video. Let's talk about Dredge perks. So I have made a tier list categorized into 4 perk types, which is Slowdown, Chase, Info and Utility. And as you may see, some of my takes might be a bit interesting, but I have reasoning for that. I will not explain every single perk here. I will just explain the worst ones and the best ones for ease of use, because if you are playing Dead by Daylight, you know some of the perks are just kinda useless. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting off with Slowdown, we have Painter's Pop, which is pretty normal. Like every single killer's best perk is Painter's Pop. Almost every single killer in the game, besides twins. So yeah, that's really natural. Then we have No Way Out. I classify No Way Out as a slowdown. Everything that increases the length of interactions, etc. is classified as slowdown in my book. So yeah, No Way Out kinda counts like an extra generator that does itself for a certain amount of time, so that's why I included No Way Out here. And yeah, No Way Out is just a solid perk. If you're going on a win streak, you will probably go with Painter's Pop, No Way Out, and a different perk, maybe Noed, maybe a different slowdown like Eruption. Then you have Surge. Dredge is an M1 killer, so that's really natural. It is a bit more map dependent, but it can still be useful. Though it might sometimes steal your Pop Goes the Weasel, so you might want to use this without janky perks, because then you will not really be able to apply Pop to a Hypergrowth gen if you just Surge it. So that may be an issue, but still a really good perk on its own. Then you have Eruption. I think it's a really solid perk. I think Pop Eruption is probably the highest DPS gen slowdown in the game, I think, because minus 20% if I'm correct goes off from Pop, and then additional 8% from Eruption, self-explanatory. Then you have Sloppy Butcher. Sloppy Butcher incredibly synergizes with Dredge's power, especially with Malfinger's Skull, which increases Nightfall game when servers are injured, and if you want to keep servers injured, you need to take Sloppy if you're running Malfinger. Yeah, self-explanatory, synergizes with the power well. Then you have Ruin. Dredge is a high mobility killer, you can quickly inspect your hex if it's getting broken, and also high mobility killers really gain a lot from Ruin, since you can easily get people off generators. So yeah, Ruin is standard. Probably I think if you're going on a win streak as Dredge, you would probably go Painter's Pop, No Way Out, and Ruin or Eruption. Next up we have Grim Embrace. Grim Embrace is a solid perk of Dredge, but it has a little caveat. If you teleport out of the hook, the Grim Embrace will not activate until you finish teleporting. Next up we have Deadlock and Deadman's Switch. Gem blocking perks, self-explanatory. I personally think Grim Embrace is better than Deadman's Switch, so that's why I put it higher. And yeah, Deadlock is a pretty solid passive slowdown, even after the nerf. And I think I have to stop explaining at Corrupt Intervention. Why is Corrupt so low? You can instantly reach further generators to get instantly to a chase, so you will get rid of your Corrupt really quickly, and also you will not need to push survivors into the map to begin a chase. Corrupt doesn't really do much for you as Dredge if you can just instantly get into a chase at the start of the match and secure a quick chase, because it will just instantly get deactivated. I think the only acceptable use of Corrupt on Dredge is in comp, because in comp people are known to run you for a longer time if you're starting out. So I think Corrupt is only applicable on Dredge if you're playing on comp. I have to have this band-aid, because if you're not running Corrupt in comp, it's known that you're throwing the game. So yeah. And to end the slowdown tier we have Undone and No Quarter. Self-explanatory. These perks are pretty useless. One relies on survivors self-carrying, and the other one relies on survivors fucking up. And if you're playing against good survivors, they will not miss skill checks unless they let go of the generator when the skill check actually triggers. You don't really get much use, but I want to honorably mention 2 perks. Remember Me, which is actually insane. It has if I remember 50 seconds to opening gates. Makes it 50 seconds, or maybe 20 seconds, I'm not really sure, but it has a lot of gate progress to opening them, so it might come in clutch in endgame builds. And Oppression. I see a lot of people underrate current Oppression. It's really good in a freelance scenario, and while it's not your primary slowdown, it's an insane backup slowdown. Literally one of the better support perks when it comes to slowdown, only outclassed by Eruption, Ruin, and Deadlock, in my opinion. So honorable mention to Oppression. Moving on to chase perks, opening it, we have Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace is by far like my favorite perk on Dredge, and it's by far the best non-slowdown perk on Dredge. You will get a lot of hits with Remnant while you have Coup de Grace. You will hit a lot of hits that you would never hit without it, and it's really cracked. Like, honestly, I might be addicted to this perk. I never want to let go of it. That's not to say I'm reliant, because I am not, okay? You will hit insane stuff with Coup. Like, base kit, you will have a lot of fun, but if you want to literally be ecstatic, you need to equip Coup de Grace, because you will hit insane shit with this perk. Next up we have Fire Up and Brutal. I put Fire Up a bit higher than Brutal, because Dredge is a mostly mid-game killer who gains a lot of Fire Up compared to Brutal strength, but like, you can use these perks interchangeably. I personally am a fan of Fire Up more, because as I said, it gives you more stuff, and Dredge is focused on the mid-game and late game, and not really on the early game, so Fire Up will definitely like come more into play, but also you can just combo these two perks if you don't feel like running an aura reading perk or utility. So yeah, definitely a bit of a hot take here, but I think that Fire Up is a bit better on Dredge than Brutal. And next up we have Broad Favor, self-explanatory. If you want to deny the pallets, so just straight up removing their ability to use pallets will give you a lot of value here. And that's pretty much it for like the meta chase perks for Dredge. Now we're moving on to like a bit niche, so let's go into Bamboozle Superior Anatomy. People will never expect you to vault on Dredge, because nobody vaults on Dredge. Like, it's such a meme build, because vaulting is never expected on Dredge, and if you just like instantly pop Superior and Bamboozle, you will most likely get a hit, because nobody fucking vaults on Dredge. It's hilarious. So definitely a weird pick, but it can provide some value. Another choice I would like to mention is putting Enduring Spirit Fury a bit low, and it's because if you utilize something I call peak tech, I will show this on screen, you will most likely not get stunned a lot of the time in the game when you're playing as Dredge, because if you utilize peak tech, then you won't really get much value out of Enduring and Spirit Fury. I'm not saying it's like a terrible choice, but I personally don't run stun perks, because I can just utilize peak tech and get value out of that and not get stunned. Like, recently I found myself getting stunned in the early game only, and later in the game I think survivors don't really get to stun me when I get in the flow, so that's why I put them so low. It may be a personal thing, you can try this out, but I think if you utilize peak tech, then you will not have much issues with that. Okay, moving on to information perks, we're starting with Barbecue and Chili. Barbecue is a staple when it comes to Dredge. It will instantly grant you another chase after hooking a survivor. Sometimes it may replace your game sense, so I would recommend sometimes dropping Barbecue to train your game sense, to not be reliant on it, but I would say that Barbecue is a solid fucking perk. Next up we have Gearhead and Nurse's Calling. Now, Gearhead I think is like one of the most underrated aura perks in the game, because you get aura reading for like literally taking a health state. It's pretty good on hit and run Dredge. Also, the only downside it has is that you don't really gain a like audio cue for receiving aura, so you might miss it, especially that auras are the same color when it comes to survivors and generators. But if you see and gain value from it, it's really good. I know it sounds like it's really inconsistent, but trust me, like getting aura reading for someone hitting a good skill check is insane. So pay attention and you'll get a lot of value out of this perk. And then next is Calling. You have base kit undetectable while in lockers and while in Nightfall. It's very likely that survivors might heal within 24 meters, but you know, it relies on survivors healing nearby, so it's a bit inconsistent. And well, that's why I put Face the Darkness around the same spot. I'm not saying either is better, but I just wanted to put them next to each other. Undetectable killer, so you can abuse Face the Darkness really hard, but also one person does not get screams, it's the person that you injure. And to counter, they can either like heal, you can also down this person to disable your ult perk, or the person that doesn't scream can just like take the hex out, because, you know, it's a hex. Probably the highest inconsistent perk on this tier list. I may be wrong, but I feel like Face the Darkness is kinda inconsistent for Dredge. It's a good perk, that's why I put it high, but it's not consistent enough. I want to honorably mention Dungeon Tactics, Twak and I'm All Ears. I will not tell you why, but you will find out soon. Let's say it like that. And some people might wonder why I put Lethal Pursuer solo. It's because you don't really gain much from the early game bonus, because you instantly get into a chase in the early game if you just TP to a random generator. So you don't really need the aura reading, especially that, you know, you have free tokens, you can use them. And Lethal Pursuer on Dredge is just used for extending aura reads, so I wouldn't really use this perk on itself. And also I would like to mention a bit of a controversial take with Darkness Revealed an ultimate weapon. No, I'll instantly say it, no, these perks do not trigger when you teleport, exit or enter a locker. This is a question that a lot of people ask me. No, this is not the case. While you can teleport quickly to lockers, I wouldn't say it's really reliable, especially since it depends on the, I wouldn't say more RNG dependent part of your power, but unfortunately 25% of the maps in the game, done by my calculations, have a bit of weaker locker spots. On these maps you really have to be an expert in remnant use to succeed. That's why, you know, Gaming Athlete, for example, has a 100 win streak. Yeah, these perks do not work on Dredge based on its power. You need to manually search a locker to gain the value from it. So that's why I put it solo, because a lot of people think these are good, but these are actually not really good. And I would say even Spice outclasses both of these perks, but past me put Darkness Revealed a bit higher, because, you know, Aura Read versus Aria Scream. And moving on to the last part of this tier list, we have utility perks. Starting off Agitation. Everyone loves Agitation, fucking insane perk. Most of the time guarantees a Scorch Qs unless there's a sabo player, and it also allows you to get in your chases faster, so it's self-explanatory. Everyone loves Agi. Then we have Undying. Literally helps every single hex perk in your build, so there is literally no reason to not run it when you have a hex build or a hex perk, and when you have your game sense right and you don't need info perks. So definitely an insane choice, definitely a good choice for your build if you are running a hex perk. No, it is self-explanatory, it's a catch-up tool. I would never run it when you want to learn the Dredge, because it gives you free victories and you don't really learn anything. So I would not touch this perk unless you're like playing seriously, like you're on a win streak for example, and need to guarantee a kill in the end game. Forced Hezi, one of the more underrated perks in the game. If you combo it with Infectious Fright, you can slug a lot. You can get a lot of value out of Forced Hezi Infectious, and I would like people to see its potential a bit more. Next up we have Devour. Self-explanatory, you can defend hexes with your power. You can quickly get the Mori effect if you just get your hooks quickly. Kinda inconsistent, but you know, it's Devour. Make Your Choice is a meme perk on Dredge. If you leave your remnant near the hook, you can just instantly teleport and get an insta-down, but you know, it relies on survivors not inspecting the area before they unhook. So like, if you're facing competent survivors and they get caught on the first unhook, they will probably never get caught on the second unhook. So yeah, or they will just like send the injured person for the save, then you know. Another mention I would like to make is Jagged Compass. If you combo this with Gift of Pain or Flows of Rage or even Painless, it's pretty insane. You can just like turn every single hook on the map into a Scorch hook, which is really fucking good for your other perks, especially Flows of Rage. Flows of Rage and Jagged is an insane combo, and I think I'm not seeing it enough on different killers too, not really only on the Dredge. I think like more people should run this combo, because I saw it a lot after the release of Handmaster, but not many people run it nowadays. Yeah, and I think that's going to conclude it. I don't think there's a lot more to mention from this tier list. As you can see, it was an unscripted video, like my map tier list, but I think like perks aren't really complicated when it comes to Dredge. I think picks are pretty logical, sometimes even similar to other killers. I think like the most unique thing about the Dredge when it comes to perks is the thing that you don't need Corrupt Intervention, and you need to use, not need, but you should use Coup de Grace if you want to like boost your power to an insane level. So yeah, here's the tiers on your screen. And before we end the video, future me is going to showcase some builds, and also in the future you can expect a build video about a build that is not shown in this video, so stick around for that. And yeah, I'm going to disappear now, and future KMD is going to come in and show you some builds for the Dredge. Thank you, see you in the next one. Take it over, KMD. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Let's get to the build showcase, shall we? So let's begin with my general build. Starting with Pogo's the Weasel, it applies 20% of generator regression to a generator you kick after hooking a survivor. The regression is current progress, but it's still pretty strong. I still don't understand the nerfs to pop and painless on the anniversary update, but hey, whatever you can do. Next up we have painless. Everyone knows what painless does, I don't think I have to explain this. Then we have Barbecue and Chili. You get aura for 5 seconds when they're further than 40 meters from the hook. Insane aura reading instantly grants you another chase. And we have Coup de Grace. Extends your launch distance by 80% if a generator is completed. You gain 2 stacks of a maximum of 5 stacks every time a generator is completed. And for add-ons, most of these builds will share these add-ons. It's Automated Writing and Hades Calendar, the meta. Moving on to the Dredge, as I call it, or the Chase Dredge, we have Brutal Strength, which increases the break speed of generators, walls, and pallets by 20%. We have Coup de Grace, which I explained already. We have Save the Best for Last, which decreases your basic attack cooldown by 4% for every token, up to maximum of 8, and if you hit an obsession by any means, you lose 2 tokens. And then we have Fire Up, which grants you a 6% stackable buff for every generator completed that grants you a speed bonus for picking up, dropping, vaulting, damaging the generators, breaking pallets, breakable walls for the remainder of the trial. Add-ons, the same. Let's get to a bit more niche, one-trick pony type builds, starting with the Slug build, which is Surge, which in a 32 meter radius generators explode by 8%. Then we have Knockout, which causes the survivors that are in the dying state to crawl 50% slower for 15 seconds, and the recovery speed is reduced by 25%. Down survivors are affected by the blindness effect, and the main goal of this perk is to be annoying in solo queue, because survivors outside of the 60 meter range of the down survivors cannot see their aura. So this is an anti-solo queue perk. Should probably be worked, because everyone fucking hates this perk. But since this is a slugging build, we have to kinda keep it in. Next up we have Infectious Fright, which reveals the location of the survivors that are in your tier radius for 6 seconds when you down a survivor. Caveat here, Terror Radius. You don't get value out of these perks in Nightfall, or when you're like undetectable. So this is probably the weakest perk. You can probably switch this out for something else if you would like Eruption. But still, like, this is a slugging build. You want to chain slugs. And finally, for Saturation, survivors within 60 meters of a downed survivor receive the 20% hinder stealth effect for 10 seconds, and then this perk has a 30-second cooldown. Again, you can switch out Infectious Fright. Force Hesitation, Knockout, and Surge are the main things of this build, because they give you most value for slugging. Especially in the current meta when hooking isn't as much rewarded as the slugging is, this will probably be your go-to slug build. Next up we have the most redundant build of them all, the Streamer Reaction Farm build, which is aimed at jumpscaring survivors, causing people to scream, be funny. Generally, you will equip this build when you see a streamer in your lobby that is live and you want to kinda troll them and get some funny clips. It consists of Dark Devotion. Whenever the obsession is a health state, your radius is transferred to the obsession for 30 seconds, and you gain the undetectable status effect. Next up we have Tinkerer. Whenever a generator is repaired to 70% progress, it triggers a loud noise notification, and you are granted undetectable for 16 seconds, and it can be triggered once per generator. If you would like, you can switch Tinkerer out for Furtive Tries. When you hook the obsession, you gain the undetectable status effect for 18 seconds, and you also gain 5% haste. And the rescuer of the obsession from the hook becomes the next obsession. So if for some reason you need more undetectable and more reliable undetectable, you can switch out Tinkerer for Furtive Tries. Next up, Unforeseen. Whenever you damage a generator, your terror radius is transferred for the generator for 30 seconds, and this perk has a 30-second cooldown. Whenever you don't have a terror radius, you are undetectable. And finally, to end this build, we have Plaything. Whenever you hear Survivor, they get Oblivious. And for the add-ons, we have a little change. Instead of automatic writing, you will be taking a lavalier microphone. First, will reveal for 3 seconds when using the last teleport token, and when entering a locker using teleport, the other lockers within 6 meters of a survivor slam their doors to just petty scare them. It means nothing. This add-on is kinda bad, and it has like bad info, but it's a scare. It's a cheap tactic. Like, this build is so redundant because you have undetectable in your base kit, but it's just made to increase the chance of you jumping at streamer or a survivor and causing a jump scare. It's just for memes. Don't run this build if you're playing seriously. Up next, we have the Vault Dredge. Beginning with Bamboozle, your vault speed is 50% faster, and upon vaulting, the entity blocks the window for 16 seconds. Only one vault location can be blocked. Pretty simple, the generic and most used vault perk. Next up, we have Superior Anatomy. When a survivor performs a fast vault within 8 meters of you, this perk activates. The next time you vault, your vault speed is increased by 40 seconds, and this perk has a 30-second cooldown. If you'd like to, you can replace this perk with Dark Arrogance for consistency's sake. It decreases the duration you're blinded by any means and the duration of pulse stuns by 25%, which, as I explained in the tier list part, you will rarely get stunned when you're using peak tech, and increases your regular vault speed by 25%. So if you'd like to be a bit more consistent, run Dark Arrogance. Next up, we have Unbound. This perk activates for 30 seconds after a survivor becomes injured by any means, and after vaulting a window, you gain 5% haste for 10 seconds. And finally, we have Crowd Control. When a survivor performs a rushed vault action, the vault becomes blocked by the entity, and this applies up to 5 vaults. If you'd like to, you can switch Unbound for Undying to protect Crowd Control, since Unbound is really the least important part of this build. Next up is what I call the Overexposure build, starting with the Dragon's Grip. After damaging a Dragon for the next 30 seconds, the survivor that interacts with it will scream, revealing their location for 4 seconds and becoming afflicted with Exposed for 60 seconds, after which the perk goes on a 40-second cooldown. After which, we have Friends to the End. When you hook a survivor that's not the obsession becomes exposed for 20 seconds and reveals the aura for 10 seconds. When you hook the obsession, another random survivor screams and reveals their possession and becomes the obsession. After which, we have Devour Hope. When a survivor is rescued from a hook at least 24 meters away, Devourer receives a token. At 2 tokens, you get 5% haste 10 seconds after hooking a survivor for 10 seconds. At 3 tokens, everyone is exposed. At 5 tokens, you can kill survivors by your hand. Everyone knows how this perk works, I don't really think I have to explain this. And the bread and butter of this build, make your choice. When a survivor rescues another survivor from a hook at least 42 meters away, make your choice, gives them exposed for 60 seconds, and then this perk goes on a 60-second cooldown. The whole shtick of this build is hiding your remnant in the area of Dragon's Grip and make your choice to get easy downs. If you'd like to, you can switch Friends to the End for Undying or Haunted Ground, whatever you want, it's up to you. But the main shtick of this build is hiding your remnant, gaining value from instant exposed, and Devour and Friends to the End and Hand on the Ground is just a bit of a distraction, and maybe just to add a bit more exposed. If you'd like to, you can even replace Devour and Hand on the Ground and Friends to the End with Slowdown or Aura, whatever you want. It's up to you. This is mainly focused on the hiding remnant tech, if you can call it tech, like, it's a strategy. Next up, we have the Hit and Run build, which consists of Gearhead. After damaging a survivor by any means, Gearhead activates for 30 seconds, and when a survivor performs a good skill check while repairing a generator, their aura is revealed for 8 seconds. After which, we have Thanatophobia. For each injured, dying, or hooked survivor, all survivors received a penalty of 2 to repair, sabotage, and totem cleansing. If there are 4 survivors injured, dying, or hooked, there is an additional 12% penalty to repair, sabotage, and totem cleansing speeds. After which, we have Sloppy Butcher. When you injure someone, they get mangled and hemorrhage. And also we have Surge, that's just explodes generator at 8% regression within 32 meters when you down someone. I explained this part earlier. For the add-on change, we have Malfunker Skull. Increase Nightfall charge speed by 25% while any survivor is injured. And if you would like to, you can replace Gearhead and Thanatophobia with Face the Darkness and Undying. Face the Darkness causes survivors outside of your target radius to scream every 25 seconds and reveal their auras for 2 seconds. When you injure a survivor, when this survivor is healthy or enters a dying state, this perk deactivates, and the only survivor that doesn't scream is the person that actually activated Face the Darkness by you hitting them. And Undying protects your hexes. You can also replace these two perks with any regression you want. The main shtick of this build is Sloppy and Dredge. Or you can also replace Face the Darkness or Clickhead with a different Aura perk, because Aura is pretty useful for this build too. Next up we have Good Fucking Luck, the build. Starting off with Devour, Undying, Thrill of the Hunt, which increases cleansing and blessing speeds by 12% for each totem that is standing, and Retribution, which grants Oblivious to every survivor that begins interacting with totems for 45 seconds, and if any hex totem is removed, including this one, the auras of all survivors are revealed for 15 seconds. And in this build, you can swap out Devour for any hex you want, and you can also swap out Retribution for Ruin if you feel like it. If you don't need so much protection of your hex, then, you know, this build is mainly focused on defending a single hex until it gains effect, or just to keep it going for the entire trial. Essentially, Devour is kind of a slowdown perk, but mentally. Like, if you gain 5 tokens, everyone will drop doing generators to try to not die, for example. So yeah, this build is aimed at extending the alive period of your hex till you get the effect and till you can end the game, because as we know, totems are getting really cleansed quickly in Modern Dead by Daylight. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm going to see you in the build showcase I teased at the end of the tier list section. I hope you like this build I cooked up, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, internet.